To round out Chapter 2, we will look at the state of knowledge on female and male comparisons. McCoby and Jacquelin's 1974 book, The Psychology of Sex Differences, looked at female-male differences in 3 areas of cognitive performance: verbal, quantitative, and visual spatial. Also, it looked at female-male differences in aggression. And their findings have framed the research on female-male differences for decades. We will look briefly at verbal and quantitative performance. Like most differences research, this area depends heavily on meta-analysis. The research focused on many types of related tasks: word fluency, vocabulary, grammar, spelling, reading, writing, oral comprehension, and anagrams. Findings showed a consistent but small difference in favor of females, and the differences were most dramatic at the lower levels of verbal performance. Gender differences in verbal performances appear earlier than any other differences. Specific types of verbal tests showed different patterns, and the findings depended on race and social class. There are likely many reasons for these small differences. One is likely connected to the fact that we speak more to our baby girls. Little girls have much bigger vocabularies because of the conversations that parents have with them. What other possible reasons can you think of? In regards to quantitative performance, the study shows that girls obtain higher school grades in mathematics, while boys obtain higher scores on standardized tests. 1 to 5% of the variance is attributed to gender. The differences in general math performance usually do not appear until adolescence. There are more boys than girls among the very top performers, and differences in some sub-areas such as problem solving do appear earlier. And what might some of the reasons for these differences be? What do we know about standardized tests in relation to racism and sexism? In addition, what is going on with girls in adolescence? We know that up until this point, girls do the same or better than boys in quantitative study. And how many role models do girls have in the field of science and math? In addition, the type of attention girls begin to get during adolescence is often not something that is supportive of their educational experience, but rather the focus on their body growth and sexualization. What then is the best predictor of quantitative performance? It sounds kind of like a trick question, doesn't it? But truly, the best predictor is the number of math courses taken. It's obviously confounded with gender, but the gender difference in coursework all but disappears for the boys and girls, men and women, who have the same number of classes in these subjects. When we look further into quantitative performance, other things arise. International studies show higher male performance, but in countries with strong gender equality like Norway, the gender gap in math was negligible. In countries with less gender equity, for example Turkey, the gap in mathematics is much greater. First-grade boys outscored first-grade girls by the equivalent amounts in the United States, Japan, and Taiwan. Yet, Japanese girls perform better than U.S. boys. But the gender gap within each culture was about the same. Final study shows that in 11th grade, only 14.4% of Chinese and 8% of Japanese students scored below the average U.S. student. There are a number of arguments as to why there might be gender differences in these types of cognitive functioning. But the general believed truth is a psychobiosocial model, that some variables are both biological and social, and that learning occurs in a social context, is affected by the social variables such as opportunity, encouragement, expectations, television, etc., and that those specific learning experiences also have an impact on the brain. More often than not, aggression comes up within the context and understanding of physical aggression exclusively. McCoby and Jacquelin's study also focused on physical aggression and did not focus on relational aggression. While physical aggression may include punching and kicking and slapping and hitting, relational aggression harms others by manipulating and damaging their peer relationships. Let's pause for a moment to think about our own school life, elementary through middle through high school, and begin to picture the differences between boys and girls in the classroom, after school, at recess. There's a saying that I believe to be true. Boys can be mean, but girls can be cruel. Girls often harm each other in ways that cause reputation damage for the remainder of a girl's school life. And it is this type of aggression that girls participate in much more than boys that is more likely to go unnoticed. Coming back to the study, it's important to note that the researchers used situations where aggression is considered inappropriate for females, and that the conclusions may have also been on the extreme aggressive behavior of a few males. So moving forward, we might want to consider de-emphasizing gender and focusing on the context of aggression to get a better view on the differences and similarities of aggression.